With the new patch coming out and a new war bond coming out, it comes time for us to ask the question we ask once a month, which is why is there so much negativity in this community? If you're part of the Reddit or you're part of the Discord, you'll know that anytime a new patch comes out, anytime there's any nerfs, anytime there's balances, anytime there's a war bond, anytime anything comes out, there is a large amount of negativity. Why is this? Well, let's dig into it and find out. And I want to note that I'm not saying the negativity is or is not warranted. I'm simply here to explain why it keeps happening and why we go through this process of people love this game and then something new happens and the forums are flooded with memes and crying and frustration, and then another balance patch comes out and it starts over again and over again and over again. Reason number one, and probably the most prolific reason why this keeps happening, is YouTube, social media, and Reddit as a whole reward people who are negative. It's just a sad fact of life. We know that people get frustrated with rage bait videos, they get frustrated with clickbait videos, and yet we know people keep clicking on those. So unfortunately, if you made two videos and those videos were the exact same, but one had a clickbaity title like "This is the worst patch ever," or "Arrowhead's done it this time," or "Rest in peace, Helldivers, this is the end," something like that, it's going to do much better than "I love this patch," or "This patch is great," or "Here's a factual look at the patch." It's just unfortunate, but it's true. The way social media is designed, people need engagement, and negativity is the best form of engagement. Getting a like or a follow or a subscribe takes a ton of work, but getting someone to get worked up and upset about a clickbaity title or subtitles or any little thing can get you a ton more views and interactions. In fact, this is something I've talked about a few times about the subtitles on my own video, because many people comment and tell me they hate the subtitles, but here's the matter of the fact, is that I get way more engagement. I'm talking thousands, if not tens of thousands more views if I have subtitles on here that you would see on TikTok. Do I like the subtitles? Not necessarily, but does it work? It does. And ultimately, at the end of the day, when we are content creators, we're creating content to be seen. We want people to see what we have to say and what we have to do, which means we have to play the game a little bit. And that happens on Reddit as well. I don't know why, but people care about the upvotes and downvotes on Reddit, and thus they're going to create clickbait and they're going to create threads they know that are going to be popular, which tends to be negativity, because they want those upvotes, they want that interaction, they want to be conformed to by the group and say, yes, you are right, this is awful. Point number two comes directly from the devs, actually. In the most recent update, we had a big review bomb that happened on Steam. Now, if you remember when the PSN fiasco was happening, there was also a huge review bomb that was encouraged by some of the devs, and we're seeing it happen again. And the devs responded by saying that they would rather see people review bomb and be negative than not care. And there is some truth to that, right? If nobody cared about these balance patches, what that would typically mean is that no one is playing the game anymore, or worse, no one even cares about the game anymore. The fact that there is negativity means that there is a significant amount of people who are passionate about the game, who enjoy the game, who want the game to still be fun, and they're seeing these changes as something that is going to take away from that community. If you'll notice, a ton of Helldivers tend not to be selfish. When they talk about these balance changes, these patches, they say this is going to drive the community away. It's going to move players away. It's not just like, oh, well, I'm going to quit because I don't like this. The concern is it's going to push a lot of people away, and they don't want to see that happen in this game. The player base that we have is a passionate player base. And that's something we talked about when we saw the huge decrease in numbers. Once again, there was a ton of negativity because everyone's like, oh, the game's dying. We've lost 99% of our player base. And that's left us with between 30 and 50,000 passionate people rather than 500,000 people playing for the memes and the popularity, which means the people here actually care. It doesn't mean that it's going to be a dead game. We still have plenty of players, but again, that negativity is important. So what looks better? Saying, wow, the game has 50,000 players? Or saying, oh no, the game has lost 99% of its players base overnight. It's doomed. One of those is clickbait, one of those is going to get you views, and unfortunately, that's what people care about. Point number three comes in the form of a lot of people aren't game developers, obviously, but they see it as something that makes a lot of sense as an outsider. They say, wait a second, why are you adding more guns? Why are you adding more difficulty when there are still bugs in this game that have been here since day one? Why are you adding things when the game's not even functioning all the way? Or even worse, why are you adding things when you know that it's going to cause game crashes? And that's exactly what we saw happen. The amount of game crashes increased significantly when the game patch came out, because that's what happens every time. They add a patch, we get a few new crashes, a few new bugs until they're sorted out a day or two later. Now, a person who works in game development might tell you something like, well, those are different teams. The team that is quality assurance, the team that is balance patching, the team that creates new guns, and the team that creates art are all different teams. So it doesn't take away from the crash fixes or the bug fixing team for us to release new content. But if you're not in that world, well, then you may not know that. And this is not a unique thing to Helldivers 2. For example, World of Warcraft, which I use as an example a lot, has a huge team, right? We're talking a multi-billion-dollar company with one of the most successful and largest games of all time. And they still, every time there's a patch, people come and say, well, why are you adding more art? Why are you adding more transmog when XYZ doesn't work? And inevitably, someone will come and explain, well, those are two different teams, right? The team who's making the art isn't the team who's balancing classes. Those are different people. And yet people are still frustrated when they see it as, well, you're not focusing on the thing that I care about. You're just focusing on things that will make you money. Point number 4, I'm sure has some sort of name for this exact effect, and I don't know it. So someone on the internet tell me exactly what it is, because I know there's a name for it. But it has to do with the YouTubers, which was point number 1, but this one's a little bit different. And that is, a lot of people wait to be told what they think. They want to be a part of a community, and they want their streamers or the YouTubers or their content creator tell them this patch is awful or this patch is good. Once they've got that information, they then parrot that information and say it to other people to figure out if they're a part of the community or not, or if they believe the same things they believe. Again, this happens in all aspects of life, not just Helldivers, but we happen to be talking about Helldivers right now. And because of all the reasons I brought up in point number 1 on why YouTubers tend to focus on negativity, that means if most YouTubers are trying to push negative things for views, that means most YouTubers are going to be posting negative content, which means all their fans, all their followers are going to be getting those negative opinions and then be sharing those negative opinions as well, which creates maybe echo chamber. Is that the right word for it? I don't know. I think there's still a more accurate word for it. But essentially, people are waiting to be told what they want to believe. Then once they know it, they're going to be sharing it, and because they are told be negative, that negativity spreads around like wildfire. Point number 5, this game, although is not all that old, is already being affected by rose-tinted goggles or nostalgia. I am fairly certain that there are a ton of people still playing who have been here since day 1. And since they've been here since day 1, they still remember the pre-nerf railgun, the pre-nerf on a lot of different guns, and think about, wow, how great was this game when it first came out, when these weapons were super powerful, when you're able to one-shot things, when you could do all these different things that have since been patched out or changed or balanced. And even though the game has only been out for 6 months, which doesn't feel like that long of a time, the game has had true live service additions. We've had so much new content, we've had so many balancing patches, we've had so much feedback with the community. The game has really changed so much since it first came out. It looks the same, but there's so much that is different that I can see where people are like, well, I was here since day 1 and this didn't work this way, or this gun was so much better, or I preferred this. And you just have this overall negativity because you want to go back to that feeling in the first or second patch, and that's not going to come back. And my 6th and final point is that when people are asked for feedback or asked what they think, typically they want to add something to it. For example, if someone sends you a paper and says, I want you to edit this, and you find nothing flawed with it, you're still going to find something to add to. You're going to say, well, I would change this to a comma, or I would use a different word here. Even though it's not a big change, you feel like because you've been asked for your input or your thoughts, that you have to offer something of sustenance. And it's easier to find something negative than it is to find something positive. So when people are posting questions on the boards like, what do you think of this new patch? Or what do you like about this new patch? Or what don't you like about this new patch? People tend to find those negative things because it's easier, and they feel like they have to add something because they don't feel like they can just say, the patch is what it is and I'm happy to keep playing. Like, they feel like they have to add something to it. And like I said, it's much easier to find a flaw with the game, especially when there's still all these bugs, all these balancing issues, and other things that people are dealing with. It's super easy to just throw that out there, and then that just, again, adds to the negativity. And I'm guilty of it to some degree too. You know, I haven't always said everything positive. I try and be as unbiased as I can with the game and add important or good things to the game. I try not to be overly negative, but there were some things I didn't like the flamethrower changes I'm unhappy with. But I typically try and make factual, happy, unbiased content. So if you're looking for that in Helldivers, consider a like and subscribe. It helps me a lot. I appreciate you sticking around as always. And please leave a comment down below if there's anything you want me to discuss or anything you have to add to this conversation. And finally, have a blessed day.